if it works, then my go-to app for filming on Android is Filmic Pro, and I will explain why in a little bit, but first I'm going to mention some of the alternatives, because next to Filmic Pro there are some other good ones like Cinema FV5. Cinema FV5, it's a very good app, but it has limitations in how it looks. I don't really like how it looks. It's a matter of taste, I guess, but I really do like how Filmic Pro looks. Having mentioned Cinema FV5, there are more apps that are rather professional and that you can use on Android. Cinema 4K is one of them. Doesn't work on all Androids and doesn't have as many controls as Cinema FV5 or Filmic Pro. And just like Filmic Pro and Cinema FV5, Cinema 4K asks for more high-end Android. But you also have Open Camera, and Open Camera works on every Android I have ever encountered. So if Cinema FV5 doesn't work, Cinema 4K doesn't work, and Filmic Pro doesn't work, then Open Camera is your go-to app. So that to start off with. But the main thing I want to talk to you about now is how does Filmic Pro work on Android. As you can see on my screen now, there are several information things you don't have in the standard camera app. I'm sorry for the noisy road next to me. But hey, that's where you are sometimes. On the bottom of the screen, you can see, let's see if I can point it out. Down here, you can see the frame rate I'm using. It's currently set to 24 frames per second. I'll show you in a second how to change that. It's set to 1080p, which is full HD. It shows me how much battery I have left. It's now green, so that's good. And how much space I have left, which is now yellow. So I'm still okay, but when I start recording and I've recorded several clips, it will turn red, and then I do not have enough space anymore. And it shows these numbers will start running if I start recording. And that means that I can exactly see how long my clip is going to be. Let's first dive into the settings, because this is where it's really getting professional. You can see here that you have a lot of options to change. First of all, resolution. If I click that, you can set it to 1080p like what it's now, but I can also set it to 4K. Depends on the phone, of course, if that works, but I can also downsize it if I don't have enough space or whatever to have a lower resolution. I can also change the way my frame is. For example, if I would like to film something in square mode, I can set it to 1:1. But in general, for TV work, I need 16:9, and that's the way I film. Because 16:9, I can use that for online stuff, for TV, but also to make different crops later on. So I set that to 16:9. Down here, I can also change the way, how high the quality is. Usually set it to filmic quality, which means 32 megabytes per second, which is basically the same as most professional TV cameras use. So that's why I set it to filmic quality. I go back by pressing the screen, and now I go into frame rate. This is where it gets really interesting for people working for TV. Because in Europe, where I work, and in most parts of the world, we have to have 25 frames per second to have it being broadcasted on TV. The standard camera apps in most phones can only do 30 or 60, which is the frame rate they use in the United States and some other places. But when you use that on TV, it doesn't look as smooth and nice, and you could have some audio issues with it being out of sync. So that's why Filmic Pro or Cinema FE5, Cinema 4K or Open Camera come in handy. You can change the frame rate. In this case, I'm going to set it to 25 frames per second, which means every second it takes 25 images to make it into a video. Okay, I'll go back to the main setting screen. I can also change my audio. It is now set to record with the camera microphone, but if I attach an external microphone, it will appear up here, and I can change which microphone I'm using. Okay, back here. I can also, just a second, I'm gonna change the volume a bit because I can hear myself in echo, and that's not very nice. In audio settings, I can also change how high the quality of the audio is. Usually I set this to 48 kilohertz, which is the TV standard. I go back. And actually, most of the settings in the middle of the settings screen I never use, but I do use the settings on the bottom. First of all, the stabilization. If I press that, it turns on or off the stabilization in the camera, which means that when you're filming handheld, it will try and stabilize your movement, which is very handy. When I press camera, I can change the camera to the selfie camera. I have to be honest with you, I hardly ever do that because I hardly ever record myself. But if I do, I can see myself, and that can come in handy. I can also press torch. When I press torch, it will light up the little light that is in your phone. I try not to use that because it tends to give people red eyes, which is not very handy, because you cannot edit them out. So I try not to use that. I try and always use an external light, a little LED light, something like that. I also use the guide. If I press that button, you can see that the lines appear in the screen that will help you line up your shot. Okay, if you now press overview in the center right, you can see all my settings in one overview, so I can check if everything is okay. Now I go back to my recording screen, and actually when you open it, it will probably look like this. You will have a square and a circle. With the square, you can actually change the focus by dragging it to where you want the focus to be. And you can see that it shifts in focus. Maybe if I go a little closer on that, over here you can see it even better. Focus on the car, or focus on the trash can. And the round thing, this one, is actually the light. I can change the light of the image. Because it's a very bright day, that doesn't really do much right now. But if there's a dark spot and I want it to lit up, I'll move this circle to the area that's too dark, and it will brighten up. When I'm happy with my shot and happy with the way it looks, I can simply press them both once and they are locked. And this means that they won't shift even if I put my hand in front of it. They will stay, the focus will stay the same and the light will stay the same. If I do not lock it, I'll show you that, and I put my hand in front of the screen, and of course now it doesn't work. Come on. Yes, now you can see that it will have my hand in focus. Okay, back to the trash can in focus. Now this is the easy way to do it. I can also go into manual mode. If I go to the bottom left, you see a little white circle with a dot in the middle. If I press that, I now get handles on the left and right side, which means I can change my focus manually by moving the one on the right, and I can change my light settings by moving the one on the left, and you can see it changing. So it really gives you manual controls over what you are actually shooting. What you also see here, let's see if I can point it out, over there, that little handle is actually your zoom. But as you might know, zooming on a phone is not a good idea, and you can see it in the image quality immediately that it's not as good as you would want it for TV use or even for online. So don't use that zoom, only zoom with your feet, so moving closer. On the bottom left, next to the white circle with the dot in it, you can also see these colorful circles. If I press that, that is where my white balance is. I have several presets I can choose from that will change the color of the light to, well, it's a sunny day, so if I set it to sunny, now the colors are correct for a sunny day. If I press the cloud, it will think it's a cloudy day and adjust the light for that. But it's not, so that doesn't look so nice. Usually I have it set to automatic white balance, which in general is quite good. It recognizes the situation quite good. What you can see on the right of the screen over there, you see these audio measuring going up and down. This is only on devices that have an 18:9 screen ratio. Most phones will have their audio metering down here, below the numbers. There's a little bar that will jump to the right or to the left when you have a microphone attached, or even if you don't. So let's start recording and see what happens. I press record. You can now see that the red button the white button turned red, and you can see that the numbers are actually running. I have now recorded 17 seconds, 18 seconds, 19 seconds, and it keeps counting until you press the little button again. And now I have recorded a clip, and this clip I can find, let's see, over there, when I press that, and it shows me the clips I've recorded so far in Filmic Pro. And the top one is the one we recorded now. Within Filmic Pro, you also have the option to have a sort of a pre-edit before you actually load it into your edit software. If you go to the scissors, you can shorten the clip the way you want it, and then press the V, and it will start calculating and making that cut for you, so you can you only have that bit you actually need. I can also change the colors in here. If I overexposed, for example, I can change the exposure by dragging this bar up or down. cancel that for now, and I'll go back to the main screen. Within Android, you do not have to export your clips when you're done. You can actually, they will immediately save on your phone. When you happen to be on iOS, there's an option to save within the app itself, which is not very handy, and you tend to lose some stuff if you're not careful. So it's good that in Android it's immediately on your phone. So basically that's the main things you need to know about using Filmic Pro. The thing is, it doesn't work on all Android phones. On some earlier models and some cheaper models, Filmic Pro can be a bit buggy, can skip some frames or have some audio issues. The guys of Filmic Pro are working on that, and they probably will find a way to make it work on all phones. I'm going to change the camera so you can actually see me. Hello. But it's very bright sunlight, so I'm not sure if you can actually see me. Which application are you using is a question now. This is Filmic Pro. And we've quickly gone through Filmic Pro. This is my go-to app. This is my daily use app, which is just, it's the best one out there. So if you can, please use it. If it doesn't work on your phone, there are some alternatives. Open Camera works on all phones, but you also have Cinema FV5, which is a very good app, and you have Cinema 4K, which also works pretty well. But Filmic Pro is actually the best one because it has a very good interface and enough options to make it work for professional use for TV. So I would recommend to use that. As you can see now, I use my other phone to see if there are questions, and feel free to ask any questions you have now, so I can respond to them. I'm going to talk about a bit more about the rest of the workflow in the later live sessions, because this is of course only part 1, and part 1 is all about filming. Because filming is probably where you're going to start, but we have a lot of other things to cover, like taking photographs, like editing video on your phone, recording audio and editing audio on your phone. The question I now get is, do you lose any quality when it's saved to the phone? No, you do not. It really depends on your settings what quality it actually will record, will save on your phone. But if you set it to 32 megabytes per second, as I've just explained, then it's just, well, full HD TV quality. But you might want to consider having it on a lower quality setting if you don't have enough space on your phone. Do you much edit on the phone? Well, John, actually I only edit on my phone. I have the ability to go back to the studio and use one of the computers which has Avid on it, or actually I have Adobe Premiere on my own computer, but I never use it because I feel very comfortable editing on the phone. Because editing on the phone gives me the ability to edit on the same spot as where I do my recording. And then when I discover if I don't have enough footage or anything like that, I can just go out and shoot some more. So that's, for me, is a big benefit. And the quality of the editing apps on the phones, whether it is Android or iOS, is just very good. and you can have TV quality products made just on your phone. So why not? Are there any other questions? Actually, this live I'm doing now is sort of an experiment, because as you can see, you're not just looking at me, but also looking at the interface of Filmic Pro, which I haven't used before. I'm using a screen recording app to do live. It's called DU Recorder, and I haven't used that before, but so far it seems to work pretty well. The only problem is you can't see any questions on the phone you're using to stream live on. So I need a second phone to actually answer questions. Are there any more questions at this time? Quick recap. I've explained how Filmic Pro works on Android phones, and the limitations of Filmic Pro on some phones means that you have some alternatives like Cinema FE5, Cinema 4K, or Open Camera, which are also very good. And the only reason I prefer Filmic Pro actually is that it looks much cleaner and nicer, and it works for me. Is there a setting to see how it will look if you want to make it square from 16 to 9? Well, yes, actually there is. If I go into settings again and I go into resolution and I set it to square mode, you can now see that it adds sort of a square mode on top of the 16:9 mode. So you can now actually aim for square mode, and also the rule of thirds grid that is on the screen now is adjusted for the square mode, which is very handy. So that makes sense. But I can also go to cinema mode, for example. Back to resolutions. Let's say 239:1. If I'm recording a Hollywood film like Steven Soderbergh did on his iPhone with Unsane, I can actually check how that looks right in the app, which is a very nice addition. Whatever mode you're aiming for, you can make it in this app. So that's very nice, and the ability to check your battery and your storage, that is really helpful. And also the audio metering, I really need that as a professional. I need to check my audio. So I like that, and I will explain more about editing, I guess, in the next one, which will be, spoiler alert, KineMaster, because KineMaster is the best app out there to